Hello, my dear
Hi.
friend.
Hi.
So I am excited about this interview. Um, really want to pick your brain a little bit on, just what life has been like for you as you are now um, in your 40s, and what's his facial expressions?
Clutching my pearls. I'm not in my 40s. I'm just kidding.
Okay. So, inquiring minds want to know what can one expect once you turn 40? Like what is so significant about that 40th year?
Good question, Jennifer. One that I
I
think you'd be able to answer yourself since you are also over the hump
Yeah,
and
I'm
you're also
sure.
like, closer to 50 now than you are to 30. But,
What? We're gonna have to edit
no,
that.
no. So, I'll say one thing that turning 40 and now being, whew, I mean, like over the hump of 40 has done for me is brought on a lot more self-awareness.
Hmm, okay. When you say self-awareness, just expound a little bit on that. Like, what are you more aware of that you weren't aware before?
One, I'm aware of how life in the past has affected me. Now, I'm
Mm,
also more aware of my emotions. I'm aware of how my thoughts flow. I'm aware of how I show up in my relationships with people, whether that be, romantic, whether it's just platonic, whether it's even family relationships or even
mm.
working relationships.
So what I'm hearing you say is that once you turned 40, a light bulb just came on as it related to how you show up in the world. Is that correct? Or
I wouldn't say that a light bulb necessarily went off. I would say more so that it was maybe the feeling of being unafraid to
mm,
be
okay,
myself in certain spaces.
okay. So you're just like, look, F it. I don't care what people think. I'm just gonna be
Yeah.
me. Or, did you
Yeah.
kind of have that
I mean,
mindset
yes,
or that?
because yeah, in a sense I did. In a sense I did because I think that I didn't really, I'll put it this way. I think for a long time I allowed myself to be defined by what other people thought of me.
Mhm.
And I think when 40 hit, it became, I have to know what I think of myself. And then I have to live by that versus what others see or think.
Mm,
I think that transformation was taking place prior to turning 40. I think it started happening in my 30s.
okay.
But I think 40 for me made it into, it is what it is. It's just what it's going to be.
So
And
you
self-improvement is important, but it should not come at the cost of me being unhappy for the sake of making others happy.
mm, So one of the things I heard you say is it sounded like you were saying that in your previous years or previous decades, different things were happening that kind of led up to this point in your life. Can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that? Like, would you say that each decade or each kind of transitional period meant different things for you?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh, my teenage years was just more so the years of me wanting to find my identity among my friends in a sense.
Hmm.
And then the 20 year, the second decade was
Hmm.
more so me wanting to find myself as a career woman, wanting to find myself as a mother. I wanted to be the best mother I could possibly be And I wanted to also connect deeper with people, but also find, how do I would say find my, at the time I would say I wasn't aware necessarily of my truth. I wasn't aware of what truth was. I was connected to religion. God was connected to me, but through religion. Yet I still strive to have a
So,
personal relationship with him. What
hmm
was the two big things for me during my 20s were just getting educated and getting a good job and then being a mother. So it was like I was career driven mentally, but I didn't have the opportunities to make that happen for myself.
okay.
So I had to, it's almost like my 20s were spent with me being a teenager in a sense, because I lived at home with my parents. I didn't have a good job. I didn't have stability that I needed, but I was a mother. So here's
hmm
one part of me having to grow up and the other part of me still being a child.
Okay.
So that was the thing. In 30s for me, I think with 26, something happened in my mind. And
Okay.
then 30s, I became more aware about the things that I had experienced, like, going back, teenage years, I could say, hey, I was molested. 20s, I had all these different emotions that I didn't understand. I think there are times when I felt like I was having breakdowns mentally. Didn't know that I struggled with depression. Didn't know that I struggled with anxiety. Just did not know those things.
hmm
Um, 30s, started being aware, that, oh, okay, well, this thing doesn't hasn't just happened to me, but it's affected me. Oh,
hmm
how my mom dealt with me as a kid didn't just it's not just a story. There it affected me. And so in my 30s I started putting the pieces together as
mm
to how my life was affected by the things that happened to me. And then 40s is more so the latter part of 30s, and now 40s is treating it. And for me now,
mm
40s is, okay, this happened to me, right? I have been defined by it my whole life. My behaviors have come out of that. Now, what do I want to do differently? Can I live that way forever? Do I want to always be the person who I did this because of what happened to me? Or do I want to change? I am interacting with these type of people because of what happened to me. Or do I want there to be changes in my life? So 40s for me, that it's been hey, I don't want to be the same way. What am I going to do about the problems I have? What am I going to do about the things that happen to me that's causing me to act a certain way?
mm.
It's a lot.
Wow.
Did I
That's,
even answer your question?
yeah, you did. Because I was curious about, um, how each of the different transitional years have led you up to this point. And you answered that. You spoke to the progression of your awareness because you said that in your 40s, you feel more aware. And it sounds like you're saying that you feel better equipped to be able to, manifest the life that you really want.
Hmm. I think I feel more equipped to see Trisha,
Okay.
not Trisha who was defined by bad choices, or Trisha
Mm,
who was defined by the things that happened to her. I
hmm
am now able to see all parts of Trisha. I see the good,
mm,
I see the bad. I'm able to assess her objectively and subjectively. I'm able to affirm and validate and also correct her where necessary. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not necessarily looking for that anymore from people to tell me who I
Who
am.
you
I'm
are.
becoming aware of who I am and then being able to deal with myself as such.
That's lovely. That's amazing. I'm sure the viewers, those that will watch this, um, that statement right there will resonate with them because I think we live in a society that, is set up to tell us who we are and define for us how we see ourselves. And, it sounds like your awareness, your journey even has helped you to not so much, rely on externals, but, looking within yourself and tapping into what God has given you. Because I think you mentioned earlier that you have a connection with God, or a gauge, that you live by. So I think that's powerful. I think that's really powerful. Um, you know, I, I think that, for those young women out there that, may see this, they may wonder, how does one get to that place? Like you mentioned that it's taken time, as you were identifying the different, different stages in your life. But would you say that there is a formula or something that someone could tap into to help them to get to this self-awareness, this place of awareness where they're not relying on externals, but more so, um, seeing themselves, outside of what other people see?
Okay. So that's a really good question. And I'll answer it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the book of Genesis, we see that God created man and woman in his image. And oftentimes, society tries to tell us who we are,
Mm-hmm.
and try to put an image on us. But then
Mm-hmm.
we also look closer and we see culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being a West Indian, they tell you who you are. They tell you what you're going to be. They tell you how you're going to be. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you don't have a lot of individuality. You're just what they tell you to be. And I'll say this. For me, my marriage was a defining moment for me in me facing myself and saying, no one is going to tell me who I am. Because there were just things that I would be told about myself that didn't sit well in my spirit, even though
Mm-hmm.
these may have been things that I thought about myself in the past, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I had to dig deep. I had to go to God a lot. I had to search the Bible. I had to go into that Psalm 139 mode and read about how God
Mm-hmm.
sees me and recognize that my identity comes from Him. I had to hit up Ephesians 1 and Colossians chapter 1 and
Okay.
look at what God said to me about me,
Mm-hmm.
because I just did not feel good enough. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel like I didn't value myself. I didn't see my worth. My
Mm-hmm.
identity was not formed, properly. Whether it was me being a twin, whether it's because I had dealt with some childhood trauma, whatever it was. And so it was easy for me to be picked apart by people. I would seem
Mm-hmm.
strong on the outside, but I was broken up on the inside. So I was deeply affected by words. And so once I started realizing that these are the areas I'm struggling with, and this is how people's words affect me, I started really honing in on the God that my parents introduced me to. And I
Mm-hmm.
started looking at what the Bible says about God, about me. And that was a defining moment for me to be able to recognize where my strength comes from, where my
Mm-hmm.
identity is shaped from, and how important it is to see myself. Psalm 103 verse 1 says, "Let all that I am praise the Lord." So
Mm-hmm.
many times I looked at myself and all I saw was the bad, because that's all I
Mm-hmm.
was taught to see, just the bad in myself. And the people around me, sometimes the main person would constantly talk about the bad in me. It wasn't the good that was highlighted. So
Mm-hmm.
all I ever really saw was my bad.
Mm-hmm.
All I ever saw was my bad. And so God did a beautiful thing for me by allowing me to meet a friend, right? And this friend started pouring into me and telling me all the good things about myself. And that was important to me. But then he also pushed me deeper into his word, like I said, and really started helping me to see me.
Mm-hmm.
And that 103 verse 1 was a defining moment in my life too. It
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, well, we're taught to stuff our bad and to hide it from God. And here is David saying, let all that I am. And then when I analyzed what all that I am was, it was like my
Mm-hmm.
good, my bad, my ugly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's it, the great, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so what am I presenting to God? I'm presenting myself to God. I am presenting
Mm,
myself as I am, and God accepts me as I am,
hmm.
just
Wow.
as I am, with all of the things that everybody thinks is wrong with me, all the things that I think are wrong with me. God accepts me as I am, and so I'm gonna bring all of me to Him. I'm gonna present it to Him, and I'm gonna just be myself with Him, and that's been helpful in helping me to be stronger in the way that I see myself and how I how I stand up for me.
Wow. That's powerful, powerful, powerful. Um, wow. We are almost out of time. But I did want to just give you an opportunity, just a minute or so to just speak directly to your viewers, those that may, watch this. What do you want to leave with them as it relates to transitioning to a different phase in your life? So we're in our 40s, we've been able to do some reflecting, over the years. What are some resounding thoughts or principles that little, nuggets of wisdom that you may want to leave before we sign off here, as it relates to just, reaching a new chapter in your life?
While God is the author and the finisher of your faith, you're very much a partner in your
Mm-hmm.
journey. You're very much a big part of that. You and God are partners in this journey called life.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever God looks like to you. God may not be the man who lives in the clouds. He may not be that to you. He may show up in another form for you, but understanding that who you are is a spiritual being that's being housed in a physical body. And so you need to, at all stages of your life, identify with the spiritual part of you.
Mm-hmm.
Many people who have been violated or hurt or not have a sound support system as kids will struggle with certain things, struggle with identity, struggle with connecting with themselves, struggle with boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
But, right, all of that stuff can be corrected. Yes, with therapy, but also with connecting with your higher power, who the higher power is with you. Every stage of your life will be different, but at the same time, as different as it is always you becoming who you were always meant to be. It's bringing you
Yeah.
into the next phase, into the uncovering of who you were always meant to be. And so
Mm.
you have to pay attention to you. You have to pay close attention to who you are and connect yourself with people who
Mm.
see you, love you, value you, and want to help you to become the best version of yourself.
Mm. Wow, that was powerful. I'm already getting an idea for our next topic. When we come back together. But I just want to thank you for sitting with me and just sharing just a little bit about your experiences and what 40 means to you, and how you've been able to just embrace this moment in your life.
Thank you for having me, Jennifer, and I appreciate you for just taking time to just talk with me. Thank you.
Sure. All right.